Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. My name is Renee Smith. I am the CEO and founder of Independent Authors Book Experience, and I want to welcome you to another edition of The Author Speaks. And this week will be, or this month, we'll be talking about or talking to children's book authors. Today, we have an amazing author here, Dr. Emily Wolcott, and we'll be meeting her in a few minutes. Pardon me. But I just want to give you some highlights and updates on what we have been doing. So, this past weekend, we had our IABX Children's Book Festival. This is the first one that we've hosted, and it was amazing. Not to toot my own horn or our own horn, but it was really a good time. We had 40 authors and vendors. We had bouncy house, we had face painting, we had arts and craft, we had yoga, we had bags for the kids, we had Crayola packaging, we had popcorn, we had so many good things, and we had fruit, fresh fruit from Sunrays. And we just want to say thank you to all our sponsors. The Borough of Roselle was a co-sponsor, and we want to thank all our sponsors: Staples, Spencer Savings Bank, LUM Yoga. um, who else? I'm sure I'm missing someone. Sunrays Fruits, they gave us fresh oranges for the families, and that just added such a nice touch. Staples, you name it. We had such a good time. And you can check out the pictures. I'm gonna give you in drop it in our comments. The um, If you want to see pictures from the event, I dropped it in the chat. You can check out our pictures and see the amazing time that we had. But don't take my word for it. You can ask an author that was there, because they definitely, we had such good feedback from them. They had a good time. And so did the families. We had over 350 people in attendance. So we really had a good time. And our next event, because people are always asking what's the next event, we will be hosting our 10th annual Independent Authors Book Expo. Yes, I said 10. We're hosting our 10th annual Independent Authors Book Expo and Literary Gala. I always leave that piece off. So on Friday evening, on September 29th, we're going to host our Literary Gala, where we will honor and recognize people in our community who have been supporting us for the last 10 years. It'll be a great event where we'll have librarians, bookstore owners, people that authors can connect with, and connect with other authors. So we invite you to attend the gala. And then on September 30th, which is a Saturday, we're hosting our book expo, and this is at Kane University, Downs Hall in Union. So please, if you're interested and you want to participate, you want to sign up, registration ends on August 31st. However, registration will close as soon as our spots are filled. So definitely sign up if you're interested. So, without further ado, and I want to just mention before we even start, we had two authors on, and Miss Felicia Bradshaw, and we just want to we crave your prayers for her, because she actually logged on, but her child's father was in the hospital, and we just want to, wherever you are, if you pray, just say a quick prayer for her and her family, because we know that the prayers of the righteous availeth much. So we just ask you to just keep her family in prayer. Without further ado, we've been giving you all the the highlights and the and we just want to bring out Miss Dr. Emily Woolcock so we can have a little chat about her book. Hi, Dr.
Hi there.
Emily. And I'm going to say Emily, or do you want to call Doc? Because
I,
your book says, um, my doc. No, you tell me about your book.
okay.
But
Um,
before you do that, tell me about yourself and then tell me about your book.
okay. Well, first, I'm going to thank you for having me on this broadcast and giving me this opportunity. My name is Dr. Emily Woolcock. I'm a double board certified orthopedic surgeon. My specialty is in shoulder, hip, and knee reconstruction. And I must say, I am one of only 6 Black female orthopedic specialists in that capacity in the United States. Um, so, what I do in my professional life, besides operating on people and creating bionic joints,
Ooh,
is that I help my colleagues who are stressed out and overwhelmed with their daily activities find ways to practice medicine um, within the scope of medicine, or find other ways to practice within the scope of medicine. And I do this through one on one consulting and through my online academy that I have for doctors, where I train them to be medical legal experts.
oh,
So, all along, I've been in practice now for close to 30 years. And
congratulations.
thank you, thank you. And my blessing, so to speak, has not been lost on me. So, mentoring has always been a major part of my practice.
Okay.
And with such, I've always had high school students, college students, nursing students, what have you, rotate through my office so they learn basic things like um, vital signs, or as far as the nursing students go, we teach them, and the medical students for that matter, we teach them how to put on cast, how to take a proper
Uh oh.
medical history.
Oh no. We
And
just lost Emily.
so
Oh dear. All right. I'm not sure what happened. I'm sure she'll soon come back on. That may, technology, and you know how that goes. So we'll just, oh, here she comes.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened there.
Not a problem.
Okay. Yeah, we teach them how to put on casts. We teach them how to take a proper medical history. We show them what fractures looks like on X-rays, and how we line them up. So it's been rewarding. So I've always had this idea to write a book because I grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut,
Okay.
right up the street from you. Yes, and when I was growing up in Waterbury, there were no physicians that looked like me. There were not
Hmm.
many children's book. I don't remember having a children's book with a character that looks like me.
Right.
So I've always wondered about at first I had imposter syndrome. Can I really do this? And then there were incidents that would happen where people I thought were authority figures, like my teachers in high school, would tell me, no, that was not the place for me. There was no way I
Hmm.
could become a doctor.
Right.
And so when I finally made it through med school, college, um, and training, I said to myself, I must not be the only person in this situation. So the idea for the book was born, but it was a matter of time. I
Right.
had a huge practice that spanned across South Georgia and in North Florida
Wow.
with 6,000 active patients at any time. So I never had time to sit down and write the books until the pandemic hit.
Wow.
And then I was able to do it. And it was pretty quick because I knew the whole history in my head. I knew what I wanted to say, what I wanted to get across. And it was just a matter of having time and learning how to publish and doing all that. So that little 6 weeks of being shut down, I was able to get all that accomplished. And here we are today.
Okay. And you said 6 weeks. We were shut down for longer than that, but I'm sure as a doctor you were in the hospitals running around. So
Right.
yeah, and I think so many people they use that time to create, whether they wrote a book or they people started a hobby that became their new profession, you
Yes.
know. So many people, so much was birthed out of the pandemic. You
Right.
know, I always say out of the good, the negative, there was a huge positive for a lot of people.
Yes.
So, you know, we have to be, I say, grateful for that. So out of the pandemic, you now have your book. And what's the title of your book?
The title is My Doctor Looks Like Me.
Yes. And
Yes.
I can definitely relate to that because I am also a children's book author of many things. I started with cookbooks, but I have and I write in the children's book genre. So I completely understand when you say you want to have books that feature characters that look like us.
Yes.
My main character is a young boy named Freddie,
Okay.
and I have three boys. So for me at the time, I wanted them to see a book that reflected them.
Yes.
And you know the older days, boys don't read.
Yes.
So I wanted a book that they saw the main character as someone who looked like them,
Yes.
and he was doing great things. He was doing amazing things in his community, in his family. So it's very important for us to encourage our children with the books and the characters that we write.
Right.
So, so tell me a little bit about the book. Um,
Okay. So the book, again, I wrote it as a form of mentoring to kids that were younger
mhm,
um, than middle school age, because in my experience, I found that by the time they get to middle school, the mindset is already there, and you can't
mm,
really do much to change it. So, but the book tells you about a little girl who was raised in a community where she didn't have any role models to follow. You
okay,
know, she's in a lower middle class community that she lived with her family in a two-bedroom apartment in the project, so to speak.
okay,
They didn't even have a car. So one day she was, well, one thing about the little girl is she's very bright, and her parents always told her, you're going to be a doctor one day. But when she would tell her friends and her teachers, they would tell her, people like us, her friends would say, people like us don't become doctors. They look
mhm,
around you in our neighborhood. Nobody's a doctor. You stop these
right,
dreams and get real. And her teachers didn't really encourage it. So she had this doubt that she could do it, because she wasn't sure. She had her
right,
parents who were strongly encouraging her on one hand, but yet that peer pressure.
mm,
You know? So one day she woke up with a sore throat, and her mom took her to her pediatrician's office. And on this particular day, mom came back after registering her at the desk to tell her that there was going to be a new doctor today. And so she was asking her mom, what does this doctor look like? Would it be nice to me? And mom was saying, just wait and see.
right,
They go into the exam room, and then the doctor walks in, and lo and behold, is an African American doctor, um, with whom she identified with immediately.
right,
She was just shocked to see that somebody that looked like her could
yeah,
be a doctor,
yeah,
and the way the characters are drawn, the child resembles the doctor so that she could
wow,
really foster that sense of identity with the adult. Because studies have shown that when kids see themselves in an adult who's a role model, it does something to their psyche, and they really
right,
start to believe that they can
absolutely,
do, yeah, they can do it. So the doctor comes in, and the child is just shocked. She's aghast, and the doctor says hi to her and goes on to do the exam. And then when she pulls herself together, she bursts out, I want to be a doctor one day. And the doctor says to her, of course you will. I'm looking for a partner. So, yes, you
yes,
can do it. And she starts to talk to the doctor, and this is what she finds out. The doctor grew up in her same neighborhood.
wow,
The doctor
making
went to her
connections,
school. Yes,
yeah,
so all those uh, glass ceilings that she had built in her mind were
mm-hmm,
being shattered the more she talked to the doctor.
right,
So, long story short, she left the clinic feeling that, okay, yes, now I know I can do it because she did it.
right,
She's in the same type of apartments that I'm growing up in, went to the same school. She has a brother just like me. Their stories were so aligned. And
mm-hmm,
she couldn't wait to get back to school to tell her friends, about her experience.
Right.
And truth to be told, this was my story. This was my story growing up in Waterbury, Connecticut.
Wow.
you
And
know,
when you were talking, what came to my mind was I remember when President Obama was in office, and there's that iconic picture of the little boy touching his hair,
yes,
and he was about 3 or 4, and he's touching his head like, "Is your hair like mine?" You know. And I remember someone had, I think the comment, there was another comment that said, you know, you and I are much older, so children who were born when he was president, they don't know what it is to not have a black president.
yeah,
So
yes,
for them, that's a possibility now.
yes.
You know, maybe when we were growing up, it wasn't something like you're like, oh, that
It'll never happen.
never
Yes,
ever happened. But for them, seeing that, that is now a possibility. Like I could be a president
yeah,
because they have seen that model. They
yeah,
have seen someone who looks like them in that position. So
yes,
now it's not an impossibility.
yes,
Likewise, even with Pamela Harris in being a vice president as a black female president, she's checking a lot of boxes.
yes,
So for a lot of children now, girls are saying, hey, I could be in that position. Black
exactly.
girls are saying I could be in that position. So, it's very important, when you were saying that it's good for children to see themselves reflected
Yeah,
in people in positions, because this is the way they're able to see themselves. They can potentially transpose themselves into those spots.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work towards it. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you also mentioned, so you mentioned her parents, and I'm gathering because you just mentioned that that was somewhat your story. And how did you find other, like your family, your support system outside of your immediate, whether it's the teachers and stuff, because you mentioned that they weren't supportive, and how was your family in terms of support in
Oh,
that?
my family. Yeah, my family was very supportive. They pushed me even when I had doubt. My dad would always tell me, "Never take no for an answer. You're better than that. You're smarter than that. When
Mm-hmm.
people telling you no, you need to go back and show them that the answer is not no, it's a yes."
Right.
You know? And I remember during high school, one of my teachers told me that she asked um, what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I said I wanted to be a doctor, and she laughed. You
Mm.
know, she said, our Negroes do pretty well. You will be a good office assistant one day.
The
That's
nerve.
yeah, that's what she told me. But when you look at it, she never seen one before. She never seen a black doctor before. This is Waterbury,
Wow.
Connecticut. Yeah, so in her mind also, it could never happen. So
Yeah,
not only for our children, it's also for people, of other races around us. She just did not
absolutely.
believe it. Yeah,
Yeah, and you just said something, because she has never seen it, so she can't even imagine it in her own mind. She's like, nah, set your sights a little lower. You know,
yeah,
And,
yes,
one of the things that we have to be so careful of the people who speak into our children's lives,
yes,
because if you didn't have a strong support system at home pushing you on, saying, hey, Emily, you can do it, you could have listened to her and just had that negative, like, oh, let me just be an office assistant,
yeah.
and we would have missed out on a great orthopedic surgeon who is
Thank you.
doing robotic hips.
Yeah,
And I'm so excited when you said orthopedic, because I didn't realize that you were an orthopedic surgeon. I knew you were a doctor, but I didn't know, your specialty. And when you were saying the hips and stuff, because I have a teenage son who has, he's gonna be like, "Mom, you're giving out my business," but he has sometimes hip issues, so I'm gonna have
okay.
to have a consultation with you.
Anytime, anytime. Yes.
Consultation. But I wanted to ask you, because I know you kind of touched on it, but why did you choose to write in this genre, in children's books? Because you're a medical doctor, you could, do other genres and stuff, but why children's books?
I thought it was a pressing need. I do write medical books. I have written books, and
Okay.
before I even started writing these books, I had three best-selling books, in the medical genre.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
but it was part of my mentoring. I really believe that I had a message to reach young children.
Hmm.
And so if these books can reach just one child, I've done my job.
Right.
But it's been very successful. We have so many parents and kids that write me and tell me about the feedback with the children. Now we have a doctor's kit for the little ones up until age 8, I believe.
Oh, wonderful.
It's a box that comes with a book. They get their own little white coat, a stethoscope, and a little teddy bear that's the patient.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and I get pictures of the kids playing doctor with their patient. It's been really great. I've gone on Instagram and see some
Yeah,
people post pictures of their grandchildren or their
very
children
nice.
in the outfit, and thanking us for writing the book and creating the kit because it provides such an immersive experience for the child. So not
Yeah,
only are they reading the book, they're acting it out.
yes.
um, the stethoscope in the kit is a real stethoscope, so they're learning about heart sounds and breath
Oh,
sounds.
oh,
You
that's
know,
interesting.
yes, it's a real stethoscope. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just plastic to play with and pull apart.
Right.
It's educational for the children. It also helps to decrease the fear of them going to the doctor's office.
Absolutely. Yes.
They have their own white coat and their own stethoscope. They can play doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really fosters that at an earlier age and make them more confident so that when they start talking about, future professions, that becomes a viable option.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I recall because you've attended our book expo in the past, and I remember a lot of people attendees were really drawn to the book because again, when a child can see themselves reflected in a story,
Yes,
they're more inclined to, people just gravitate to the books and they're like, wait a second, she looks like me. So
yes,
if she can do it, so can I,
yes,
and that is such a huge thing to be able to give children opportunities and options,
hmm,
so that is definitely something good. Um, and I know you've spoken about this, but um, I would say what was the hardest part, if there was, of writing this book? If there was a hard part.
condensing it into a children's book. I couldn't pour out what I really wanted to say, so I had
Hmm.
to choose the words very carefully and condense it to 24 pages, and then allow for pictures to help tell the story because
Yeah.
of the age group that we're basing the book on. But yeah, that was the hardest part. But
Yeah.
but we were able to, get it concise and get the point across, or
Okay.
yes, we were able to do that in that short.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then what's the age range for this book?
It's 3 to 8 that can read it.
Okay.
Yes, 3 to 8. And then I've had parents buy them for their newborns, as shower gifts. I have a customer now who just turned 3, and her mom purchased it when she was about 6 months and would read it to her at night. And
Nice.
when she was about 12 months, her mom wrote me and said, when it's time for bed, she points to the book. That's the book she wants read to her.
Wow.
So now she has the kit, and I have a picture of her little white
Oh,
coat.
that is so sweet.
Yeah, yeah. And her mom says, okay, now she's turning into a little monster because at 11 o'clock when she should be sleeping,
She
that's when
wants
she wants to play.
she wants to play doctor. She wants to go get the teddy bear and check his heart and
Yeah,
check and check. But you know what? You it's such a good feeling to hear that she's already on that path,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So tell her mom to still encourage her, even though
yes.
kids use their minds on us like, no, I want to do this now.
Yes.
But that is good to hear. I'm sure that that makes you feel good about your project. You know,
It does, yeah. That's the satisfaction that I get from it. Yes, definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the are there any, as a medical doctor, and I'm sure you're not sitting around reading children's books all day. So, are there any authors that inspired you during your journey?
As far as this book, there's so many. I would hate to just give one name.
Well, you can give one or two. I mean, just who is an author, I should say, author or authors who
Mhm.
inspired you. Let me put it that way. Give you some wiggle room.
Okay, I can't think of his name, but it was just the fact that people were writing children's book based on real experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and the author who wrote about doing his daughter's hair,
Okay.
for his name, um, and that was I thought that was motivational for fathers who were raising young daughters on their own.
Yes, I'm trying to
Um,
remember that.
I can't remember his name. It was turned into a short film and actually won an award. I can't remember if it was
Really?
an Oscar or no, not an Oscar, but it did win an award. I can't think of his name. You know, there were other children's books that have messages, and especially during this time when our stories are being censored in this climate, it's important for us to be able to tell our own story.
Absolutely.
We need books that the kids can relate to,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and that was a driving force for me to have that in your arsenal, have that in your library, so to speak. And when I meet parents, I try to encourage them to have a set of books for the child to be able to turn to. They may be in their room playing on the day when they're not in school and may
Yeah.
reach for a book. And if they have it handy, that's just the best thing ever. I
Yeah.
had taken a baby shower last weekend and where she asked for children's books instead of
Mm.
cards.
Yes.
And I thought that was such a great idea because she was already building the library before the child was born.
And
So,
sorry, go ahead. I'm just
yeah,
saying that was very important. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So she's already planning to teach the child and have them reading at an early age. That was just so wonderful.
And I think more parents are getting to that place. And I'm not saying that they weren't before, but I think with everything, like you said, that's going on around us right now, it is so important to have um, that information, if you
Mhm,
will,
mhm.
and it's like a padding around the child, so they have things that they can lean on and
Yes.
see themselves. Because, like you said, everything is being censored. You can't say this, you can't do that.
Mhm.
But a children's book is an innocent way to communicate to children in a very simple way about very important topics.
Yes.
So talking about being a doctor, you plant the seed, you know, and kind of get them inspired to walk in that path, if you will. They
Yeah.
may never be a doctor, but just hearing the story,
Yeah.
they'll can become compassionate to someone else.
Right.
It has different levels or different ways to go.
Right.
Right.
And it also doesn't, they don't all have to become doctors, but just the
Hmm.
fact that they know that they can be anything they want to be is
Yes.
what we're trying to get across to them. You
Yeah.
know, in our day, we had Barbie as the main character, especially with dolls and stuff, and that was supposed
Yes.
to be the standard of beauty. you know
Yes.
so there were all kinds of lessons learned from that. Barbie was beautiful, but I wasn't, because there were no dolls that looked like me. I wasn't
Right.
good enough. So, there you had studies shown where kids were shown a black doll and a white doll, and they would point to the white doll as being beautiful because
Yeah.
that's what we believed. And that
Mm-hmm.
was all we saw. So
Yes.
that was what was talked about as beauty. So, to have this diversity, it's great.
Yes.
It's great for the kids, and, characters in all shapes, colors, looks, sizes.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we really need to gear towards.
And the, the other thing that you just mentioned, as far as um, the, I'm going to circle back. I just lost my train of thought. Let me go on to, is there something that you're working on now? Or do you have
Yes,
another book you're working on or project? Let me put it.
yes. So the plan is to write as with as many titles with different professions.
Mm,
Okay. I started with the doctor because that was most familiar to me and that was my story.
right.
The next title is going to be the My Lawyer Looks Like Me. Well, let's just say they've already been written, they just haven't been published, you know.
Okay.
So we have My President Looks Like Me, My Vice President Looks Like Me, My Lawyer Looks Like Me. And then from then on, we will probably do monthly contests where to let the children choose what they want to read, you know,
Oh,
and then we'll try to write the book to fit that. You know,
right.
we had a little girl who asked me to write one about my meteorologist. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So, in fact, that was at your event a couple of years ago.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, a little girl came up to me, and Miss Pat's granddaughter. You
Oh,
know,
wonderful.
yeah.
It's funny you say that because years ago, and I said this to someone on Saturday. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a meteorologist.
Really.
Yes, that's what I wanted to do. I love geography. I'm from Jamaica. We used to draw maps,
Hmm.
and create maps. Maps are so outdated now because we have GPS, but I'm an expert map reader. I can get you anywhere with I have a map in my hands. Find, I can direct you anywhere. And we used to build maps and create maps in when I was in high school, and that was really what I wanted to do. So I would really love to see a book about meteorology. And
Okay.
it's funny because I don't about being a meteorologist. Um, it's I feel so removed from it now because that was in high school. That was many moons ago.
Not that many. It's all relative.
There's quite a few moons, Emily. Quite a few. But that will be very nice, very nice. And it's funny how when you go to events and you meet children, how they drive your story,
Oh yeah.
isn't
Okay.
it? Like
Yeah.
they'll say, um, why like when I did my first book on the Great Compost Heap, and I went to the school and I read to the children, and they said, Mrs. Smith, are you going to do another book? And I was
Mhm.
like, from
Oh.
your lips to God's
Mhm.
ears. I
Yes.
didn't have that in my head at all. I was just focused on this one book.
Yes.
I never had a second book in my head. And now I have seven books, seven children's
There
books.
you go. Yeah.
So, they drive that story for you, or that writing story, or your path, because they
Yeah.
keep asking, so why didn't he do this? And I'm like,
Hmm.
well,
Yeah.
you
Because we're
know,
here to help. So yeah, any way we can help. Yeah.
yes,
Definitely. Yeah.
yes, definitely keep them in that vein. So I know we talked about you writing in the children's book genre, and we know you do medicine, but have you considered doing any other genre?
Mhm.
Excuse
I've
me.
thought about romance novels.
Mhm.
I've thought about self-help books with parenting. It's just a matter of time. Maybe when I retire and have more free time on my hands.
Okay, okay. And I could see you doing like a self-help book,
Yeah.
only because you're in that field, in that sphere,
Yeah.
and giving parents information on not just your from a certain medical standpoint, but also from, I guess you see both sides. I don't know if you're a mom. I'm just
Yes,
going.
I am. Oh, definitely.
So,
Yes.
you have both sides of the coin,
Mhm.
as a doctor, and, helping parents deal with issues, because, you know, when you're, I think sometimes, or without stepping or crushing toes, sometimes the things that we go through as people of color are a little bit different from what other people go through.
That's
You
definitely
know,
true.
what we experience in the medical
Mhm.
sphere is different. So getting a book that says, "Hey, this is your guide to navigate certain things or things like that," I
Yeah,
think that would be helpful.
yeah,
Because you know more than me. You're in orthopedics. That's huge.
yes, yeah,
Like you said, there are not many people who look like you in the profession.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, how do they understand our our nuances as people of color?
yeah, yeah. And moving on to that subject, there's certainly a lot of health disparities. They do exist. They do exist. And the younger generation now is working to even out, and I would say even a whole most, or if not all, of the medical societies and boards are actually actively working to be more inclusive.
Mm,
It was just stuff that was just never thought of as important before. You
right.
know, for instance, when we um, looked at a book, a dermatology textbook in my era, and you look at rashes, you're not going to see any dark skin. It's mostly white skin.
Hmm.
And then there are disease processes and things that are found mostly in blacks, that are not accounted for.
Right.
Even simple things like high blood pressure. Certain medications work well for certain races and certain don't.
Right.
But you look at who's in the studies. If the studies are not well diversified, you will never find that information.
Right.
It's found
Right.
by trial and error. So yeah. So now things are being more inclusive,
Hmm.
which is a great thing for everybody.
Right.
We need more physicians and healthcare professionals that are representative of the diversity of the United States.
Right.
Because there's certain things that I can understand, or certain things that I'll understand from a cultural standpoint that a Caucasian physician may not understand. And
Absolutely.
it's not so much has to do. It doesn't have to do with racism. It's just a matter of you not knowing.
It is, and it's funny you say it is what it is, but I'm from Jamaica, and
Mhm.
even though I'm black, there are some things that are different that we do differently and are cultural that,
Yes.
so even being here, we you and I would be different just because of my cultural upbringing and my background.
Yep.
And the things that we do and don't do, and you're like, so
Yeah.
why would you do it? And
Yeah.
so there are so many cultural differences
Yes.
that having someone who understands that definitely helps your process a little bit better, whether
Right.
you're you're a medical doctor or you're a writer or whatever your profession is.
Right.
Really makes a difference. I remember a few years ago when I was doing my master's degree, and I was in our school was very culturally diverse. We had a lot of people from all over the world, really,
Mhm.
who I went to school with, and quite a few of them. My friend list looked like the United Nations.
Okay. Yes, definitely.
So we had one of my friends. Her name was um, oh God, her name just went from me, out of my head.
Mhm.
But she was Taiwanese, and she had actually her name was Chris. So usually when they come to the US, they choose a name that is easy for people to call,
Yeah. Mhm.
pronounce, that is not that's different from their traditional name.
Mhm.
So her first name that she chose was Chris, and she's when she came, she said she just had these really bad stomach aches and couldn't figure out what it was, but they eat a lot of rice.
Yeah.
The rice was not cooked soft enough. She was not used to the rice because we have that shelly rice and they have
Yeah.
that sticky rice.
Yes.
So she had to go out and find one of her a restaurant that would cook the rice the way she likes it. She
Yeah.
couldn't eat the rice that they were providing for us on campus.
I see.
So so just little things like that. And
Yeah.
she couldn't figure it out because she was still eating this, having the same diet,
Yes.
but the consistency was different.
It's different. Right?
So, just the same thing, and we'll circle back to writing. You'll have a book that talks about being a doctor. For a children's book about being a doctor, but it doesn't have any people of color in there.
Yes.
So how do I identify with the book outside of saying that's a nice book? Yeah,
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. It's a great read.
love it. I like that's a doctor. Woo, wonderful. So, and not to be, um, um, it's not. Uh, what's the right word? And when you get into these spaces, you have to, you're careful not to crush toes, but it is what it is as far as what is before us.
Yes.
Um, so I wanted to find out, are you and what advice would you give to an aspiring author?
I would say tell your story. Your story needs to be heard. Your story can help people. There are people out there waiting to be helped by your story. And no story, no personal story is boring or useless.
Mm-hmm.
So be loud and be proud when you write your story. Choose who you want to deliver your message to. Learn about how to go about uh, delivering that message in a way that they'll understand.
Yeah.
You know, if you have to test the story out on people to see how they receive it and have them ask questions about, on certain topics or points that you can really emphasize, and then determine what the end result you want. What's the point you're conveying by telling your story, and
Right.
will that be accomplished when you write your story? So that's the main thing. Be loud and be proud, and go out and do it because somebody needs to hear it.
I like that. I'm writing that in the chat. Be loud and be proud. I like that. And you are correct 100%, because a lot of the times, and I think, and I didn't ask you this before, are you traditionally published or self-published?
These books are self-published.
Okay.
Um, yes, these books are self-published. My other books are published by were published traditionally.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, but
And
yeah.
you know what I find that when you traditional publishing, your voice is somewhat, depending on what it is, can sometimes be
Diminished. Yeah.
yes.
Damp,
You see, I'm using my hands.
yeah. Dampened down, yes.
Yes, and you have to modify what you're saying, or you have to tone it down, and this is not, you lose some of your individuality when you go the traditional route, because they want to put you in a nice little packaging, and
Mhm,
this is the way it'll be received or accepted. But I find now a lot of people are going the non-traditional route of being self-published, like myself.
mhm.
We're self-published, and we have the opportunity to be loud and be proud.
Yes,
Speak our truth, have our conversation, say what it is that we want to be shared with or specific audience.
yes.
you know, um, there's not that sense. I know this may be a little bit strong word, but censorship. We
Yeah.
don't have that. We can say what we want to say and not have fear that it's going to be lost in the sauce. Like somebody's going to say, no, you can't write that, you
Yeah.
can't put that. Um, I forget I don't know where it was. If it was a movie or something else. Oh, this is a little bit off, but this was Bridgerton, and they were.
Love Bridgerton. I love Bridgerton.
So I watched the spin-off, and in the spin-off, there were the mother, what the queen is
Yes.
darker complexion. She's black, and the husband is white. But when they were doing the portrait, the mother-in-law kept saying lighter, lighter, you know, and she's
Oh,
like, but that's not me. Look at my
right.
skin. So it to me is like, they keep saying lighter, lighter, when if I'm a dark chocolate, I'm a dark chocolate.
Yeah.
It is what
Exactly.
it is. If I'm
Right.
a milk chocolate, I'm a milk chocolate.
Yes.
You know, don't take away my color.
Right, right. Don't put me in that box. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, be loud and be proud. I love it. I absolutely love that expression. Gonna write it down because I'm gonna log off here. I'm gonna lose it. Be loud and be proud. I think that will be our slogan. Um, so, we're coming towards the end of our programming, but I wanted to um talk about just a little bit about your do you have a writing group that you are part of or community that you work with? I know you're busy doing medical stuff, so you may not have, but is there any group or any um
No, actually, no, I don't have a group that I work with. When I travel to book fairs and expos, I meet other authors, but we
okay,
have not formally formed a group yet.
right.
Yeah, I don't have a group yet.
Okay. And when I guess I should explain because sometimes there's some authors who come on our program and they have a writers group that they are part of. So not
Mhm.
necessarily that's in an author group, but they started off with a writers group and then they published their book. So they
Yeah.
have like a community of writers that they connect with. So excuse me. So IABX, we have a writers cafe, and it's a
Okay.
group of individuals who are writing with the intention of becoming published. So right now, I think we've had like 5 or 6 people within the group who have published their whether a children's book, um, um, an anthology. We have poetry books, novels.
Very nice.
So when I say writers group, that's what I meant. But again, like I said, you're a medical doctor, so you don't have time to go prancing around from group to group. You're saving hips and shoulders.
Yes, they have knees, hips, and shoulders. That's right. And yeah, I'm also busy with my online school, the coaching, and I just started a CBD company. So it's I'm
Oh,
very busy.
oh wow. So is that I know we're talking about children stuff. However, is that the like the oils and that kind of stuff?
Yes, the oils and topical ointments. It kind of looks like a roll on, a deodorant roll on, and you just put it
Okay.
over the area that hurts. Um, I had a personal experience where I had to have bilateral knee replacements 2 years ago,
Oh
and that's
wow.
for, yeah, that's for standing for 30 years on the hard floor doing other people's joints all day.
Oh wow. That is hard.
Yeah, so I got introduced to CBD, and then had to form a company that would actually take out the THC component because I can't walk around high.
That would not work for you.
That would not work for me. Yeah, so my products are pharmaceutical grade. They're pure CBD isolate with no amount of THC in it. So
Okay.
there's no mind altering effect, and that's what sets it apart. So
Okay.
yes, I've been working on that diligently. That's my new baby.
Okay. Okay.
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I just keep producing and spreading myself so thin.
I know. I think as women we do that a lot. I think we're not just even as a parent, but I think just our nature is to want to help and to nurture, and we are always trying to find the next thing to help someone or do something.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely right there with you with that serial entrepreneurship. But it's all for the greater good. So
Exactly, because at this stage of my career, I'm trying to help as many people as I can. And
yeah.
one of the reasons I went through a CBD is I don't like taking medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like the fact that when you ingest a chemical, quote unquote, medicine, you develop a new problem from that
Yes.
medicine.
Yes.
So I've always searched for natural remedies
Yes.
instead of the chemical um, products out there. So when I started having severe knee pain and I just couldn't stand anymore, a friend of mine introduced me to CBD, and like most people, I thought, oh my God, no, I can't take it's cannabis.
Right.
I started learning about it. I started attending conferences to really learn about the product because when I tried it, it worked. You know, I remember this one day I could barely stand up. My
Wow.
ankles hurt so bad. And she rubbed it on there, and I'm sitting there. And then without thinking, we were all out at one of our girlfriend's house. I got up to go into the kitchen and didn't even realize that I wasn't limping or hurting.
Wow.
She pointed out, she said, "Oh, I bet you feel good now." And I'm like, "What is this stuff? What is this liquid?
I need it in my life.
I need this," you know. So then I started looking into it, and the more I read about it, the more I liked it. I didn't realize that every cell in our body has receptors for it, and that
Yeah.
was some primitive form of healing back, you know, before our
Hmm.
level of civilization. And
Right.
I was just like, wow, why is this being kept a secret? Why is this illegal? You know, well, for obvious reasons,
Yes.
the drug economy. And
Yes.
so I started looking into it and developed a product. It took a couple of years to get approved by the USPTO and trademarked. Um,
Okay.
but you know, my product is called the Aristocrat because it makes you feel like a queen or king. Okay.
You're gonna have to let me know what that is. I'm
Okay.
telling you, we have some hips and joints here. We're not as young as we used to be.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Even when I had my surgery 2 years ago, um,
Hmm.
the doctor wouldn't do both knees at the same time, which is
Yeah.
but we were able to do them 3 weeks apart. So I was up and walking on that first knee in 3 weeks for him
Oh
to do the
wow.
other. Yeah, yeah. And
Wow.
I walked back in, and he just couldn't believe it. Like, "Where's your cane? I haven't used the cane since the day after surgery."
Wow.
You
That's
know.
amazing. That's
Yeah, and
amazing
I told him
because
about it. I said, "Yeah," I said, "This stuff, this stick oil is the best thing ever."
I'm gonna have to send you my address, Emily, because I'm gonna need
Okay.
some of that. I do. I do need some of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but we're winding down. But
Mhm.
I want to ask. I always ask. Pen and paper or the computer. So when you're writing your books or you're starting to, do you use a pen and paper or do you use a computer or any of the new technologies that they have out there now?
I use a combination of everything, because the best ideas will come to me as I drifted off to sleep. So in my iPhone, there's a notes file,
Yes.
and my husband was, because I would get up at first. I would get up to write what popped into my head, and he's like, he would say, just dictate it, and that was the best advice ever. Even with my other professional books,
Mm-hmm.
so you're going up to sleep, and I'll just dictate another sentence here. It would be a point, and then later I would put them together and expound on it.
Right.
So it was just the best thing ever. So yeah, I did use a combination of pen, paper, computer, but definitely my iPhone.
Yeah.
My iPhone.
And it's funny that you say it because I'm a pen and paper
Mhm,
person.
mhm.
But well, I start with the pen and paper and then I transfer it to the computer because it's easier for me to edit. So when I have my notebook and I'm writing my story, there's all these arrows going all over the place
Yeah,
as trying to connect because I have the thought, I'll just write it down and I'll
yeah,
just keep writing thoughts down. So it doesn't really necessarily in the same order. And I'm like,
exactly.
it might be a good part for the story, but I don't know where it's gonna go yet.
Yes, yes, yes. But as
Yes,
long as your thoughts are down and memorialized, you can always
yes,
rearrange it. Yes,
yes. And
definitely.
what I did recently, so someone told me about Google. Well, we use Google all the time now, it's like the thing. And she introduced me to Google Docs. But if you have it on your phone, you can dictate into Google Docs and it'll write it into the Google Drive and
Yes,
it'll be there. So
yes,
when I'm ready to edit, it's already there,
yeah.
you
Right
know.
there in the notes section. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing though. Be careful how you, if so I'm from Jamaica, so sometimes I have my little intonations or the my cultural dialect may pop out every now and again. So when I look back, I was like, what? I
Yeah. What is this? I didn't see that.
don't know what this is. But it really makes it easier. Like sometimes, if I'm tired and I just want to get something really quick out, it definitely helpful to just speak into it. So I'm a pen and paper. I'm using everything now, like you are. Um, and the thing is not limiting yourself because sometimes we get so locked in a box. Like, no, I only do this. And there's so many other options for us. And I've introduced people now to the Google Drive, and they're like, ooh,
Yes.
is this cool?
Yeah, that's a real cool tool. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, Emily, before you go, we want people to know where they can find you.
Okay.
So tell the people what
Well,
they can.
yes, the best place to find our products is on our website, which is mydoctorlookslikeme.com. It's spelled out, and if you can see the graphic, it's the first line there next to the internet sign. It's mydoctorlookslikeme.com. We are on Facebook at Look Like Me Books and also Instagram. My email address is drwoolcock1 at gmail.com. Um, and I don't think I mentioned, but the book comes in four versions or four formats. So what you're looking at is the black girl version, but there's also a black boy version, a
Oh,
Spanish girl version, and a Spanish boy version.
oh, that
Yeah.
is really good.
Yes, it's written for black and brown kids, so we don't want anybody left out.
Oh,
So
that it is really good. That is a really good. Is it so? It's the same story. It's just that it's with different.
different
Um.
characters.
Oh,
Yes.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, I
Yeah.
like that idea. Emily.
Yes.
I don't know if I
I
may
have
just borrow it.
yeah, I have this is the boy version,
Yes,
the Spanish boy version, and the Spanish girl version.
that is a very good idea. It representation matters.
Yes.
It
Yes.
matters. And so it is so good of you to do that for children so that they can see themselves reflected. So if you go to a school or wherever and you're doing a reading, there's no like I don't want the girl book. You ever heard that one?
Yes. 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 Yes.
I want the girl book.
Yes.
Um the story, but and it's I think it's open enough that it allows you allowed yourself to do that, and that is really, two thumbs up for that.
Thank
Um someone read so I have a Freddie series, and then I have another book about a little girl named Dorian.
you. Okay.
And someone her mom sent me the video of her giving her review of the book. She said the book was really great, and she went on and she talked about it, and she said, would you give it a thumbs up, the book? And she said, yes, I'll give it three thumbs up. And her mom's like, you only have two thumbs. She's like, so I text her mom and said, I'll take the three thumbs. It's okay.
Right.
At least you really like the book. So it's really good for children to see themselves and to be able to experience. And we just really want to thank you for sharing your story, sharing your profession with us and with the children, and just being a part of our show today. We thank you so much. And you didn't tell us where are you stationed?
I'm in the DMV area, so I'm right outside of Washington D.C. in Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Okay.
That's
So
it.
and the reason I'm asking because so we're based in Union County in Roselle. So my pastor, whenever we're coming up, anyone in the church is coming up to the podium or the platform to talk, he'll say, "Coming to you all the way from Roselle, New Jersey."
Oh, that's nice.
So he says it's to prepare you for when you go in the big times and they're bringing you and introducing you. Remember how they used to introduce you all the way from.
Yes.
So Dr. Emily Wolcott, all the way from the DMV.
Yes.
So we're introducing you. We're getting the hype right. We're getting the
Yes.
hype right. So we just want to thank you again for being a part of the show,
Thank
and we
you.
look forward to seeing you and looking forward to seeing the other books that you have that you're writing,
Yes.
and we wish you all the best in I know you don't need it, but we wish you all the very best
Thank you so much.
because we appreciate what you're doing in the literary world and
Thank
really
you.
bringing your profession to life for children of color.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, Emily, and you have a good evening. Enjoy your summer. Um, Actually, this is our last programming for as far as Author Speaks for the summer. We are on hiatus
Okay.
until September.
Okay.
when we start back up, because everybody's traveling and it's just a lot.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
take a break.
Yes.
So we're gonna take a break, but if you want to hang out a little bit, I'm just gonna do one little quick commercial for people to talk about what's coming up.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Renee Smith. I am the CEO and founder of Independent Authors Book Experience, and I'm here to invite you to the 10th annual Independent Authors Book Expo. Yes, I said 10. We are celebrating our 10th anniversary in 2023. We are so excited. We are inviting you, if you're an author, a vendor, an illustrator, an editor, you want to sign up, register early. The spots are going fast. Register at www.iabx.org. And if you're an attendee, you want to visit us also at iabx.org just to see who is going to be here. It's going to be amazing. See you there.
I'm telling you, I could watch that commercial all the time.
A very nice one.
So again, Dr. Emily Wolcock, thank you. And it was great meeting you or seeing you again because we did meet before.
Yes.
And hopefully you can attend our 10th annual. But if not, we will definitely see you around because I'm sure this is not the last time.
Yes, I'll definitely try to make it.
Yes. So you take care and enjoy the rest of your summer and we will see you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm gonna